Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're exploring a deeply impactful text all about releasing those incredibly heavy emotions that tend to weigh us all down. You know the ones, the grudges, that sudden burst of road rage, or maybe just that lingering annoyance over a passive-aggressive email you got this morning. It's an absolutely fascinating explainer on how we can instantly reorganize our minds and finally let go of the negativity that constantly steals our joy. Okay, let's dive into this. I want you to really sit with this heavy question for a moment. Just imagine, you're sitting at the doctor's office and you receive the news that your time left on Earth is incredibly short. Could you realistically still hold on to that petty annoyance from your morning commute, or that long-standing grudge against a coworker? For almost everyone, the moment that kind of earth-shattering news hits, the mind just goes completely blank. The actual space in your brain for those everyday grievances simply vanishes.
When we put these two concepts side by side, the contrast is just staggering. On one side, we have the absolute weight of our mortality and the sheer preciousness of life. And on the other, the weight of a grudge. We suddenly realize that our daily anger and resentments are actually incredibly lightweight. Compared to life itself, they are entirely manageable and, quite frankly, pretty insignificant.
Section 1. The true nature of anger.
Day to day, we often totally lose sight of that big picture perspective, accidentally letting minor conflicts steal our vital energy. But the source text reveals something profound here to help us stop. It points out that anger isn't just something that passively happens to us, it's an emotion that we actively keep alive. Honestly, if left completely alone, anger would naturally fade away. But we don't leave it alone, do we? We constantly dig it back up. We replay that argument in the shower, we vent about it to our friends. We actually choose how much space to give it in our mental vessel.
And this brilliantly illustrates how we can break that exact cycle. The text outlines a really simple three-step practice. First, don't suppress it. Feel it fully. Just acknowledge, hey, I am mad right now. Second, analyze it briefly. What exactly triggered you? Just look at it once, carefully. And third, let it flow away like a river. Once you've actually felt it and identified it, you don't need to hold on to the residue anymore. You can just let it wash downstream.
The truly amazing thing is how your brain adapts to this practice. At first, you might spend hours fuming over a rude comment, but as you practice this technique, the time you spend being controlled by that anger shrinks dramatically. From hours down to minutes, and eventually just seconds. The goal here isn't perfect emotional suppression. That's impossible. It's simply refusing to let anger overstay its welcome.
Section 2. The psychology of attackers.
Now, I know what you're probably thinking. Letting go is incredibly hard when I'm being attacked unfairly, totally out of the blue. And you're right. But when someone throws an unreasonable tantrum at you, they are actually carrying invisible burdens. It could be intense work stress, hidden family problems, past wounds, or just unfulfilled loneliness. People with emotional margin simply do not attack others. When you see an attacker lashing out over something trivial, they are tragically showing you that their mental cup is already overflowing with their own pain. Their mind is literally at maximum capacity. So the crucial point is how we frame our response to that. The text redefines the concept of sympathy. It's not about looking down on someone or being condescending at all. True sympathy is an understanding from an equal standpoint, born from your own emotional margin. Quietly feeling sorry for an attacker, recognizing that they've completely lost their capacity to cope, is a position of incredible strength, not a defeat. And recognizing that immediately diffuses your own anger.
Section 3. Cutting ties in your mind.
But what happens when you understand the attacker, but you can't just walk away? Like, say, it's a boss or a family member. I absolutely love this perspective from the source material. You can share the same space, but you do not have to invite them into your inner heart. It's the technique of internally cutting the wire. You can remain completely polite and professional on the outside while flipping an internal switch. You simply decide, right then and there, that their words will no longer penetrate your deep emotional core.
In drawing this mental boundary line, it is not a cold attitude. It is a highly effective, portable self-defense mechanism. Unreasonable people exist everywhere, unfortunately, but if you learn how to cut that mental wire now, you will protect your peace of mind through future job changes, moves, and literally any new environment you step into. It really is a lifelong skill.
Section 4. The courage to distance. Sometimes, though, internal boundaries just aren't enough. In many societies, we are heavily pressured to keep the peace at all costs. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the stark contrast it shows between true kindness and just enduring. We often trick ourselves into thinking that staying close to someone who constantly hurts us is the kind thing to do. But forcing yourself to endure that toxicity isn't kindness. It's a dangerous endurance test that eventually breaks your heart. True kindness is stepping away, which actually protects both of you from an eventual massive emotional explosion.
Walking away definitely takes serious courage. You might worry about what others will think, right? But prioritizing your own peace of mind isn't selfish. It is the very foundation for treating everyone else gently. Maintaining your own emotional margin is exactly what allows you to be a positive, smiling, supportive presence for the people who actually matter in your life.
Section 5. Habits for living lightly. Let's move to and see how this builds into the practical, daily routines that prevent these grudges from accumulating in the first place.
So how do we put all of this into practice? It's all about doing a daily emotional inventory. You start your morning waking up with that protected emotional margin. Throughout the day, you apply those mental boundaries we talked about to the inevitable stressors that pop up. But the absolute most critical step happens just a few minutes before you go to sleep. Take those lingering frustrations and write them down, or even just speak them out loud to yourself. Get them out of your head, acknowledge them, and let them go before you sleep, so you don't carry yesterday's heavy baggage into tomorrow.
When you do this consistently, you start to experience the profound ripple effects of a light heart. Because you finally stopped carrying around the heavy weight of old grudges, you free up massive amounts of mental space. That new space allows you to notice new opportunities. It literally softens your facial expressions, making you more approachable, which naturally leads to vastly improved relationships. Life just simply becomes easier and far more joyful.
So, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. Think about all the time and mental energy you've spent nursing anger or frustration over the years. Now that you have the tools to let go of those heavy grudges, what will you do with all your new energy and time? You have the power to reclaim it. Go use it for the passions, the projects, and the people you truly love. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I hope you carry this lighter, freer mindset into the rest of your day.